Okay, so let's unpack this. Imagine an actor whose career is less a straight line through Hollywood and more a chaotic, explosive series of almost seismic transformations.
Right.
We are talking about an artist known for his fierce, raw intensity and just this unbelievable, almost terrifying versatility.
I mean, we're talking about someone who has seamlessly inhabited the skin of a punk icon, like Sid Vicious, then Count Dracula, then the unwavering Commissioner James Gordon.
And ultimately, Sir Winston Churchill.
Exactly. And often achieving massive global success across all of those wildly different roles.
So today, we're diving deep into the extraordinary life and professional work of Sir Gary Oldman.
When you study his filmography, you're immediately confronted with this fundamental paradox.
Yeah.
A duality that really defines him.
What's the paradox?
Well, he started as this furious, intense British theater actor, known for these volatile, often over-the-top screen characterizations.
The Psycho Deluxe, as they called him.
Yeah, that guy. And he somehow meticulously transitioned from that into an Academy Award-winning, highest-grossing global star. It's a career trajectory that, I mean, it just shouldn't mathematically exist.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to take all the information available, and we have an extensive professional and personal biography detailing his journey.
Everything from his working-class London roots all the way to receiving a knighthood.
And we're going to try and figure out the mechanism behind this transformation. How does one person embody both extremes? The punk rock rebel who is famous for overacting, and then
the highly disciplined, high-grossing chameleon who can deliver these profound internal performances where, as we'll analyze, the silence is loud.
that extreme contrast. It isn't just a quirky note, is it?
No, it's the absolute core of his legacy. And we have to address the commercial reality first. His films have generated over $11 billion worldwide.
11 billion. That's a staggering figure.
It's a franchise-driven number that places him securely among the highest-grossing actors of all time. Yet, he simultaneously commands this unique, rarefied reputation, the ultimate status of the actor's actor.
So he's discussed in acting classes, not just in box office report.
Precisely. It's the ultimate paradox of modern Hollywood.
He's the ultimate chameleon who can sell tickets globally, yet he actively avoids the typical Hollywood celebrity scene. I think he once said he preferred to have dinner at home every night with my kids.
Right. But here's the kicker, as you said. This private man defines the modern blockbuster by appearing in both the Harry Potter and the Dark Knight franchises.
Which require immense public visibility.
It's a journey of a fiercely diligent craftsman who learned how to harness and, monetize his early theatrical intensity.
Okay, so we want to trace exactly how that rebellious fire, which was cultivated on the British stage, translated into the disciplined, high-level global recognition that was once entirely denied to him by the establishment itself.
That's the plan.
All right, let's start at the very beginning then, grounding him in his foundational London roots.
Let's do it.
Gary Leonard Oldman was born on March 21st, 1958, in New Cross, South London. And the family context here feels absolutely critical to understanding the eventual intensity we see in his work.
Oh, absolutely. His father, Leonard Bertram Oldman, was a former sailor and a welder. A very working-class background, defined by manual labor.
But there's a key detail there.
A crucial one. His father was also an alcoholic who left the family when Oldman was only 7 years old.
Wow, 7.
Yeah. And Oldman has spoken candidly about this early exposure to volatility and instability. That foundational experience of growing up quickly and dealing with the emotional fallout of addiction and absence certainly provides essential context for the rawness he later brought to his roles.
Especially those roles dealing with societal outsiders and damaged, volatile characters.
Exactly. It's the kind of lived experience that immediately separates him from many of his, more classically trained peers.
And speaking of family, there's a very interesting fact about the acting impulse running through the Oldman household.
His sister, right.
Yeah, his older sister, Maureen, is also an actress. She's better known by her stage name, Layla Morse, who is iconic in the UK for playing Mo Harris in the BBC soap opera EastEnders.
So despite the challenges, that artistic inclination was clearly there.
But the path to channeling that inclination was anything but smooth. Oldman attended West Greenwich School in Deptford, but left at just 16.
And this kicked off a fascinating and, frankly, brutal period of varied early jobs that would have grounded him completely in the intense realities of working life.
The list is astonishingly diverse. I mean, it reads like character research for an intense stage drama. He worked in a sports shop,
On assembly lines.
selling shoes, serving as a porter in an operating theater, and the one he often cites for its visceral nature.
Beheading pigs in an abattoir.
I mean, can you imagine that sequence of manual labor and exposure to the harsher, unglamorous edges of life? It suggests not just resilience, but a profound understanding of physicality and authenticity.
It gives him a wide depth of real-world knowledge that, as we discussed, often separates the actor's actor from those solely trained in a theoretical environment.
What's even more surprising, though, is that his primary passion during this time wasn't acting at all.
No, not even close. He was, in fact, a proficient pianist with strong musical aspirations. He was initially planning for a career in music.
That's right. The pivot was sudden and, well, almost cinematic in itself. He was inspired in 1971 when he saw Malcolm McDowell's powerful, almost electric performance in the film The Raging Moon.
And Oldman later described this transformative experience, saying, "Something about Malcolm just arrested me, and I connected, and I said, I want to do that."
So it was that single, explosive performance that suddenly redirected him from the piano bench to the stage.
But his initial attempts at formal, established dramatic training were met with, to put it mildly, monumental failure.
This is the famous story that I think still haunts Ardale to this day. He applied to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art and was rejected outright.
They didn't just reject him, they even advised him to find something else to do for a living.
A historic misjudgment.
It's the kind of rejection that would crush most aspirants. But for Oldman, it seems to have fueled this lifelong need for diligence and proof. He didn't let the establishment defeat him.
Instead, he won a scholarship to Rose Bruford College in Sidcup, where he graduated with a BA in acting in 1979.
And he didn't even see himself as the natural star during those years. He described himself during his studies not as the most charismatic or talented, but as shy and diligent.
Just methodically working on foundational roles like Puck in A Midsummer Night's Dream.
But that diligence immediately translated into professional success. He was the first in his graduating year to receive professional work. And this is a critical distinction. His success was built on work ethic and reputation, not just star power.
And he plunged immediately into the rigorous, often unforgiving British theater circuit.
This intensity quickly made him a fixture. He gained a formidable reputation, particularly with the Citizens Theatre in Glasgow in the 1980s. He was a favorite there, touring throughout Europe and South America.
Then he had stints with the Royal Court Theatre and was a member of the elite Royal Shakespeare Company from 1985 to 1986. This theater background is really the crucible where his trademark physical and emotional force was forged.
And the definitive breakthrough on the stage came in 1984 with the play The Pope's Wedding.
Right.
This performance as a volatile character named Scopy was so undeniably powerful that it swept the major British theater honors. It earned him both the Time Out Fringe Award for Best Newcomer and the prestigious Drama Theater Award for Best Actor.
And here is the truly prophetic detail that connects his past to his future cinematic achievements. He shared that Drama Theater Award for Best Actor with none other than Anthony Hopkins.
Exactly. Right at the very start of his career, before he was a screen presence, he is placed on equal critical footing with a titan of British acting.
Someone he would later share the screen with in two massive films.
2. Bram Stoker's Dracula and Hannibal. That award wasn't just recognition. It was a clear early signal that this intense working-class actor was destined for the highest levels of performance, whether the establishment was ready for him or not.
And that sheer volcanic intensity that was lauded on stage, that is the energy Hollywood decided to leverage next, redefining him as their go-to rebel and villain.
So we transition from the rarefied era of the Royal Shakespeare Company to the raw chaos of punk rock. The film that established him globally as a punk icon was his portrayal of Sid Vicious in Sid and Nancy in 1986.
And what's amazing is that he actively fought against this destiny.
He resisted fiercely, turning down the role not once but twice.
Why?
He was dismissive. He found the script banal and preferred the intellectual challenge of theater work. He was thinking, the theater's so much more superior. He eventually accepted only because of the salary.
A practical necessity overriding his artistic snobbery, a pivot many working actors have to make.
And yet, that unwanted role ended up defining his image for the next decade. His physical dedication was extreme, reflecting that need for immersion we talked about.
He lost so much weight to accurately embody the skeletal punk figurehead that he was actually hospitalized with malnutrition.
That commitment, it just transcends merely taking a job. It speaks to a profound dedication to character embodiment.
And the reception, even among those who knew Vicious, confirmed the power of that total immersion. Despite the film itself being divisive, even the notoriously critical Sex Pistols bandmate John Lydon called Oldman a bloody good actor.
And that performance is consistently ranked highly in greatest performances lists. It's often highlighted for his ability to deliver a sympathetic, tragic reading of the punk icon as a lost and bewildered man-child.
This performance immediately catapulted him into the conversation as the de facto leader of the Britpack.
Right, that exceptional group of young, intensely talented British actors in the 1980s. You had Tim Roth, Colin Firth, Daniel Day-Lewis.
All gaining massive prominence in Hollywood due to their classical training, paired with this raw, modern intensity.
And his versatility became his immediate signature. He quickly followed Sid Vicious by playing the playwright Joe Orton in Prick Up Your Ears in 1987.
Which is when film critic Roger Ebert noted that there was no point of similarity between the two performances.
Right. He argued that Oldman was unequivocally the best young British actor around. This ability to just vanish into roles so early on was, well, it was unprecedented.
The early 1990s then marked his physical move to the United States, which cemented his shift into the transformative roles that Hollywood needed. He mastered the American accent and the American archetype almost immediately.
In 1990, he delivered a critically acclaimed performance as an American gangster in State of Grace. Roger Ebert described it as the highlight of the film, and Janet Maslin of the New York Times called him phenomenal.
So he was already transitioning from the volatile British stage rebel to a compelling yet intense American screen presence.
But the film that truly showcased his immersion research methodology was Oliver Stone's high-stakes political thriller, JFK, in 1991, where he played Lee Harvey Oswald.
The preparation for Oswald was extraordinary.
Stone, who is known for his intense directorial style, essentially just gave Oldman tickets, contacts, and the mandate to conduct his own research.
Because there was very little detail written about Oswald in the script initially.
Exactly. And Oldman just dove in completely. He sought total submersion into the life of the real person. This meant meeting with Oswald's former wife, Marina, and their 2 daughters.
He wasn't relying on fictionalized accounts. He was seeking firsthand psychological and behavioral detail.
And that level of personalized, almost forensic research is why his performances feel so grounded, even when the characters themselves are explosive.
And the explosion continued into 1992, where he cemented his global box office status by starring as Count Dracula in Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula.
A monumental worldwide commercial success. It earned him the Saturn Award for Best Actor. He was now officially a Hollywood commodity, albeit one who still brought a deeply theatrical, almost operatic intensity to his work.
And this period, the early to mid-90s, this is what defined his reputation as the master of screen villainy, the psycho deluxe. He specialized in these intensely flamboyant antagonists, each one more memorable than the last.
Let's run through the trio of iconic 90s villains.
Okay. First, Drexel Spivey, the violent, perpetually grinning pimp with the elaborate hairstyle and unforgettable accent in the Quentin Tarantino-written True Romance.
The character that MSN Movies later dubbed one of cinema's most memorable villains.
Then came Jean-Baptiste Emmanuel Zorg,
The futuristic corporate tyrant with the bizarre tiered haircut and a taste for self-destruction in Luc Besson's visually spectacular The Fifth Element.
That role is pure, unadulterated ham, delivered with gleeful abandon.
And finally, the Russian terrorist Igor Korshunov, who hijacked Air Force One, matching Harrison Ford's intensity in the mega-hit Air Force One.
They were all distinct, yet they shared a common thread. This explosive, charismatic instability.
But the apex of this villainous phase, the performance that truly secured his cult following and still gets referenced as cinematic anarchy.
Has to be Norman Stansfield.
It's his role as the corrupt U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration officer Norman Stansfield in Luc Besson's Léon, The Professional, 1994.
Stansfield is the definitive psycho deluxe role. It's a performance that balances this terrifying, sadistic streak like his famous maniacal speech about Beethoven with moments of eccentric theatricality and nervous tics. It's truly mesmerizing to watch.
And that impact has endured. Multiple publications have since named Stansfield one of the best cinematic villains ever conceived, and specifically one of the most corrupt police officers in film history.
The level of controlled chaos he brought to that role set the benchmark for high-energy antagonists for a generation.
As the millennium turned, he maintained this appetite for demanding roles, often accepting the physical toll required for transformation.
Like his uncredited but highly demanding role as Mason Verger, the wealthy, disfigured victim of Hannibal Lecter in Hannibal in 2001.
His dedication there was purely physical. He committed to 6 hours of makeup per day just to achieve Verger's hideous, disfigured appearance.
Which was the second time he'd appeared opposite Anthony Hopkins.
And the fact that he accepted such a demanding, uncredited role speaks volumes about his commitment to the craft over celebrity credit.
And then, for a touch of lighthearted levity, he stepped completely outside of the dark psychological roles in 2001 to earn an Emmy nomination for a guest role on the global sitcom Friends.
Playing Richard Crosby, the pedantic actor who insists on spitting when he enunciates his lines.
It was a perfect, brief comedic turn that proved he could command attention, even in a totally foreign genre.
However, we do need to spend some time on the brief but highly publicized political controversy surrounding his role as executive producer and star in The Contender in 2000.
Right. He played a zealous American Republican Party congressman, and the film dealt with intense political maneuverings.
And he received a SAG Award nomination for the performance. But behind the scenes, there were major claims that he and his team were dissatisfied with what they perceived as editorial interference from the distributor, DreamWorks.
They supposedly felt the final cut of the film favored Democratic leanings.
The speculation got intense, with suggestions that the political environment was affecting his critical chances. His longtime manager and producing partner, Douglas Urbanski, was quick to push back aggressively on those specific claims.
He called them sloppy sensationalism.
Yeah, Urbanski insisted that he and Oldman produce this film, every last cut and frame, and that DreamWorks did not influence the final cut.
It paints a picture of intense pressure. Urbanski also noted publicly that Oldman was the least political person I know and recounted Oldman receiving creepy phone calls, advising him that he was ruining his chances of an Oscar nomination over the supposed political stance of the film.
The whole incident was eventually dispelled as a myth by film critic Roger Ebert, but it highlights the turbulence and scrutiny that follows him, even in a producing capacity.
Following that controversy, the early 2000s saw what was sometimes viewed by critics as a professional low point. The Guardian cited a number of barrel-scraping roles, including films like Sin and Tiptoes from 2003.
Yet, even in those low-profile films, his commitment was unwavering, often rescuing the material. In Tiptoes, where he played a man with dwarfism, a controversial casting choice in itself.
Lisa Nesselson of Variety called his performance astonishingly fine.
It's a role later highlighted in discussions about great acting in bad films, underscoring that his trademark intensity and diligence remained, regardless of the script's quality or commercial prospects.
But the tide was about to turn definitively, not back to the theater, but into the largest mainstream vehicles in cinema history.
The period starting around 2004 marks Oldman's extraordinary professional reconciliation with the global commercial establishment. He re-entered the spotlight, not through independent, gritty dramas,
but by joining two massive international high-grossing franchises.
This was his smart, decisive re-entry into mainstream prominence, leveraging his unique brand of intensity, but now, crucially, channeling it into roles of moral authority and decency, rather than outright villainy.
First, he joined the Harry Potter series, playing Harry's mysterious and beloved godfather, Sirius Black.
And he appeared in 4 films, from The Prisoner of Azkaban in 2004 through to the final installment in 2011.
His casting in Harry Potter was a calculated risk that really paid off. He was known for being explosive and volatile, but as Sirius Black, critics immediately praised the delicacy he brought to the character.
A critic from the Chicago Tribune specifically noted the nuanced protective intensity, which was a welcome contrast to his more chaotic roles like Zorg or Stansfield. It proved he could handle profound stillness.
And almost simultaneously, he took on the role of Commissioner James Jim Gordon in Christopher Nolan's highly successful The Dark Knight trilogy.
2005 to 2012. And this was perhaps the most crucial shift for his mainstream image. He moved from the arch-villain to the steadfast moral authority figure who often acts as Batman's conscience.
And this choice, despite being a supporting role in an ensemble of huge stars, was lauded. Critics continually singled him out.
Mark Kermode, in reviewing The Dark Knight, made the famous claim that he downplayed the highlights of the Joker and Batman performances, arguing that the best performance in the film, by a mile, is by Gary Oldman.
stressing that he was often unjustly overlooked.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Director David Cronenberg also called Oldman's portrayal the best version of Jim Gordon ever brought to the screen.
So this decade of high-grossing, critically respected franchise work was the essential foundation for his critical ascension into the highest echelons of acting, beginning with Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy in 2011.
Playing the veteran literary spy George Smiley, this is the ultimate cinematic expression of his newly perfected silence is loud approach.
A complete contrast to the flamboyant villains of his youth.
And the industry finally took notice of his quiet command.
He received his first Academy Award nomination and a BAFTA Award nomination for Best Actor for this performance. But what distinguishes this role is the meticulous, almost obsessive preparation that went into creating such a muted character.
This was pure internalized diligence. The preparation involved gaining 15 pounds to achieve Smiley's physical heaviness, and crucially, watching Alec Guinness's prior, revered portrayal for reference.
But taking care not to imitate him.
Right. He went straight to the source. He visited John le Carré, the creator of Smiley, to perfect the character's voice and physical rhythm. The performance is less acting and more a study in controlled containment.
So if George Smiley represented the pinnacle of internal control, then his next great transformation, Sir Winston Churchill in Joe Wright's war drama Darkest Hour.
That represented the pinnacle of controlled external projection.
This transformation was legendary, and the sheer cost and physical toll required for that role illustrate his total commitment.
He spent over 200 hours in the makeup chair.
200 hours.
Wore 14 pounds of silicone rubber prosthetics, and incredibly suffered nicotine poisoning from chain smoking and estimated $20,000 worth of Cuban cigars during the process.
All in the service of authenticity.
And that uncompromising commitment delivered results. He swept the 2018 awards season, securing the coveted clean slate, the Academy Award, the Golden Globe, the Critics' Choice, the SAG, and the BAFTA Awards.
His Golden Globe win was particularly satisfyingly ironic, given his history.
Well, he'd previously been a vocal, harsh critic of the awards show, having once described the event as bent.
And then he accepted the nomination and win with grace, saying he was amazed, flattered, and very proud.
It was the ultimate establishment validation for the ultimate anti-establishment actor.
Now, despite this run of success, we do have to address the significant public relations challenge that occurred during this period, the storm surrounding his 2014 Playboy interview.
This was a defining moment of public controversy. Oldman was candidly, and perhaps too carelessly, critical of what he perceived as excessive political correctness in American media.
Specifically concerning the treatment of figures like Mel Gibson and Alec Baldwin.
He specifically defended Mel Gibson's past offensive remarks, attributing them to understandable anger and inebriation. But then he himself made the highly controversial anti-Semitic statement that Hollywood was a town that's run by Jews.
The backlash was severe and immediate.
It was. Oldman responded quickly, issuing multiple comprehensive apologies for the remarks. He even made a live appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live to offer a direct public apology,
where he described his own remarks as offensive, insensitive, pernicious, and ill-informed.
Crucially, his remorse and contrition were taken seriously. Major organizations, including the Anti-Defamation League and the Simon Wiesenthal Center, publicly welcomed his apology and accepted his contrition, suggesting a genuine reconciliation and understanding of the profound harm caused by those statements.
Moving beyond that difficult episode, his critical career maintained its momentum. He earned his third Oscar nomination for portraying the Citizen Kane co-writer Herman J. Mankiewicz in David Fincher's stylish black-and-white biographical drama Mank.
In 2020. He also reunited with Christopher Nolan for a minor but recognizable role as U.S. President Harry S. Truman in the critical and financial success Oppenheimer.
And even in his mid-60s, his work ethic remains fiercely intense, leading him to accept his first lead role in a television series.
Playing the cantankerous, cynical spy manager Jackson Lamb in the Apple TV Plus thriller series Slow Horses, which also earned him a Primetime Emmy nomination.
But with that series came a major pivot point for his entire career narrative. In November 2022, Oldman publicly stated that Slow Horses would likely be his final role.
Yeah, he said he intended to retire from acting once the series concludes, stating he aimed to avoid being active when I'm 80.
But even while planning his exit, he continues to work. His latest film is Paulo Sorrentino's Parthenope, where he portrayed the writer John Cheever.
A film that received overall negative critical reviews, but his presence on the red carpet helped earn it a massive 9.5-minute standing ovation at its world premiere at the 2024 Cannes Film Festival.
And the final seal of approval on this incredible journey, from a working-class London rebel who was rejected by Ratto to the height of the establishment, came in 2025.
He received the ultimate national honor, a knighthood by King Charles III in the birthday honors for services to drama.
He is now officially Sir Gary Leonard Oldman. The ultimate outsider has been brought entirely inside the tent.
So now we need to delve deeper into the technical brilliance that allows him to execute this chameleon act. This is the mechanism we need to analyze. How does he manage to be both the explosive, volatile ham and the ultimate master of subtle, internal quiet?
They feel like two different actors entirely. The one who shrieks, "Bring me everyone," in Leon, versus the one who communicates a library of secrets with a single, slow blink as George Smiley.
That contrast comes down to his self-aware technical approach. He has frequently conceded that his early screen-defining villain performances, the Zorgs and Stansfields, often involved an element of what others called overacting. He admitted he tends to go for it a bit as an actor, especially when portraying characters who demand that explosive theatricality.
That is precisely the Stansfield energy, the art of ham, which Stuart Heritage of The Guardian defined him as a long-term devotee of. It's the sheer force of personality and projection designed to dominate the screen and the audience's attention.
But he explicitly contrasts this maximalist approach with the profound intellectual and physical challenge of roles like George Smiley. He stated that he genuinely enjoys playing characters where the silence is loud.
And he articulated the synthesis perfectly by explaining that if the performance is coming from a sincere place, then the screen can hold the epic and it can hold the very, very small.
Which suggests he uses the same intense, researched focus for both. For the ham roles, he applies his immense stage projection skills and physicality, making the performance physically huge.
And for the silence is loud roles, he channels that same intensity internally, forcing you, the audience, to lean in and look for the smallest flicker of thought or emotion.
It's about the difference between an impression and immersion, a distinction he makes himself. An impression, he noted, is using a broad stroke, because the viewer needs to immediately recognize the character like the silhouette of Churchill.
But as an actor, he seeks total immersion.
Immersion meaning what, precisely?
Well, it means surrounding himself completely with the assignment, looking not just at the obvious surface features, the sound, the way of walking, the superficial mannerisms, but delving deep into the character's psychology, their internal motivation, and their behavioral roots.
So for Oswald, he talked to the wife. For Churchill, he didn't just wear the makeup, he adopted the physical habits, regardless of the discomfort or the physical cost.
The ultimate, almost unbelievable proof of this total immersion is the linguistic anecdote he often shares.
Which one is that?
After residing in the U.S. for years and raising his children as Americans, he began to notice that he had nearly adopted an American twang. He actually had to hire a dialect coach to relearn his native English accent for certain roles.
Wow. Think about that. The commitment to his characters and his environment was so profound that it had literally eroded his natural native voice.
That is the kind of extreme dedication that makes him, without question, an actor's actor.
And it explains why he commands such profound, almost religious respect from his peers.
Let's talk about the sheer volume and reverence of the praise from his colleagues. Tom Hardy is perhaps his most vociferous admirer.
He calls Oldman his absolute, complete, and utter hero, and asserts that Oldman is, hands down, the greatest actor that's ever lived.
Hardy also recalled that when he was in drama school, everybody used to quote him in all of his films, cementing his status as an acting icon before he ever won an Oscar.
That kind of influence on the next generation is exceptionally rare. Christian Bale, who worked alongside him in the Dark Knight trilogy, stated unequivocally that Oldman is the reason I'm acting.
Hugh Jackman, Daniel Radcliffe, Ryan Gosling, major directors are also in the fan club.
Luc Besson, who directed him as Zorg, called him one of the top 5 actors in the world. And Christopher Nolan clearly felt he was essential to the moral core of his Batman trilogy.
And the high praise isn't restricted to his generation. The word genius is frequently and naturally attached to him by high-profile colleagues, including Anthony Hopkins, Ralph Fiennes, and Keanu Reeves. John Hurt called him the best of the bunch.
Even Colin Firth, a contemporary from the Brit Pack, hailed Oldman as a very strong candidate for the world's best living actor and a hero of his.
And Christopher Eccleston made a key observation about the socio-economic context of his success.
Right. He noted that Oldman's Academy Award win for Darkest Hour was massive to people from working-class backgrounds, pointedly remarking, Oldman is as fine an actor as Daniel Day-Lewis, but Gary is not double-barreled.
That comparison to Day-Lewis is critical. It reinforces that he achieved his status as the ultimate transformation artist while coming from a background with no inherent structural advantage.
relying solely on that diligence forged in the abattoir and the theater.
This massive legacy, which we now recognize formally, was established long before the formal establishment caught up. Prior to receiving his first nomination in 2011, he was frequently regarded by critics as arguably the best actor never Oscar nominated.
And before his 2018 win, he carried the weighty title of the greatest actor never to win an Oscar. He defied both of those heavy, critical labels, validating the belief that pure craft eventually wins out.
And we can't forget his immense cult following established during the 90s, where Empire magazine officially crowned him Hollywood's Psycho Deluxe. His image permeated pop culture beyond film.
His embrace of the eclectic meant he appeared in music videos for major artists like Annie Lennox and David Bowie.
Right, the Next Day video where he played a sleazy priest.
And he even played the devil himself, first in the Guns N' Roses video for Since I Don't Have You, and later in the BMW short film Beat the Devil.
The devil, a priest, a punk rocker, and Winston Churchill. That's a resume only a true chameleon could achieve.
Oldman's talent is not purely reactive, though. He's an artist who has also dedicated himself to shaping projects from behind the camera. This is crucial for understanding his drive. He's not just hired talent. He's a storyteller.
Most notably, he wrote, directed, and produced the award-winning film Nil by Mouth in 1997. And this wasn't a vanity project. It was a deeply personal, brutal, and widely acclaimed piece of work.
Profoundly personal. The film, which explores domestic violence and alcoholism in a working-class London family, was partially based on recollections of a child he knew during his school days. It was a harrowing depiction of the world he grew up near.
The accolades were massive. The film won the BAFTA Alexander Korda Award for Best British Film and the BAFTA Award for Best Screenplay. The British Film Institute recognized its cultural significance by listing it as one of the 100 best British films of the 20th century.
And this proved his capacity for sustained creative vision beyond just performance. He also co-founded the production company SE8 Group with his manager, Douglas Urbanski, which produced Nil by Mouth and The Contender.
Which shows a long-standing intent to shepherd challenging, often difficult projects from inception to completion.
A true commitment to filmmaking as a whole.
We should also briefly touch upon his enduring passion for music. Despite his acting fame, he remains a proficient pianist.
He stated in 1995 that he would rather be a musician than an actor.
And in a heartwarming anecdote, he even tutored his Harry Potter co-star Daniel Radcliffe on bass guitar.
And in terms of pure work breadth, he's found a remarkably successful career in voice acting, lending gravitas to major video game franchises, a testament to the power of his vocal instrument alone.
He voiced Sergeant Victor Reznov in the Call of Duty series, Ignitus in the Legend of Spyro games, and Lord Vortek in LEGO Dimensions.
Now, we do have to address the personal struggles that deeply affected his life and career, specifically his well-known battle with alcoholism in the early 1990s.
A challenge that really resonates with the volatility he portrayed on screen and the familial background we discussed in Section 1.
This struggle culminated in a DUI arrest in 1991, and he entered rehabilitation in 1994. Critically, he has maintained sobriety since 1997.
And he's been remarkably candid about this period, publicly praising Alcoholics Anonymous and attributing his success in overcoming addiction to diligently attending meetings.
His ability to publicly acknowledge and overcome this challenge adds immense weight to his commitment to self-discipline.
His personal life also involves a complex marital history, 5 marriages in total. He has maintained friendly terms with his first wife, Leslie Manville, with whom he has a son, Alfie, and 2 grandchildren.
He was also famously married to Uma Thurman for 2 years in the early 90s, and is currently married to writer and art curator Giselle Schmidt, whom he wed in 2017.
We must now carefully address the tumultuous and highly publicized divorce from his third wife, Danya Fiorentino, which spanned from 1997 to 2001. This divorce included significant public controversy regarding severe allegations made during the proceedings.
Fiorentino filed for divorce, alleging that Oldman had physically assaulted her. In court documents, she claimed that he had hit her in the face with a telephone receiver while choking her.
These are grave allegations that received significant media attention at the time.
It's essential to relay the full context provided in the sources and legal records. Oldman was investigated by the authorities and was subsequently cleared of the allegations.
And furthermore, after a contentious legal battle, he received sole legal and physical custody of their 2 sons, Gulliver and Charlie.
The court records also note that Fiorentino was initially granted limited state-supervised contact contingent on her passing drug and alcohol tests. A judge later reduced her access further after dismissing additional claims of abuse she made later in the proceedings.
The court's final decision on custody and access really speaks volumes about the evidence presented and the welfare determination made at the time.
And this painful chapter was addressed publicly by the children years later. In 2018, his son Gulliver penned an open letter specifically defending his father.
Gulliver condemned the media's disgusting perpetuation of the assault allegation, stating clearly that the alleged 2001 assault didn't happen, and lamenting the pain and hardship caused by his mother's lies over the years.
This direct public defense from his son provides the necessary context and counterbalance to the initial Sirius claims.
It paints a picture of immense personal challenge that Oldman had to navigate simultaneously while achieving his global professional heights, a duality that, in its own way, is as intense as the one we see in his acting style.
So if we synthesize everything we've discussed, the foundation forged in hard labor and personal volatility, the explosion onto the screen as this psycho deluxe celebrity, the subsequent critical reconciliation, and the ultimate award sweep in knighthood.
The central theme remains the mastery of dramatic contrast.
He is the man who can deliver both the explosive, over-the-top performance style and the deeply internal, nuanced roles.
He successfully navigated intense public and personal controversy, transforming from a punk anti-hero into the ultimate establishment figure, dominating both the raw, low-budget dramas and the high-grossing, massive tentpole franchises.
He achieved the highest honors in his field without sacrificing the core intensity that defined his earliest work.
And this brings us to the final fascinating pivot, his planned retirement statement.
Right. He intends for his run as Jackson Lamb in Slow Horses to be his final, major, committed role.
This raises an important question for you, the listener. Think about Jackson Lamb. He is a cantankerous, aging spy manager defined not by villainy or heroism, but by cynicism, mediocrity, and a steady, almost anticlimactic presence.
It's a deliberately muted, unflashy character who stands in sharp contrast to the epic figures of his past.
So if this is truly his final self-selected note, is this almost anticlimactic subtlety the perfect, quiet resolution for an actor who spent his entire career oscillating wildly between the epic and the very, very small?
After decades of explosive external transformations, perhaps his final act is a definitive, unflashy commitment to the craft itself, delivering one last, complex, profoundly internal, and cynical performance.
It suggests that for the ultimate master of transformation, the final silence might indeed be his loudest statement of all. We encourage you to rewatch his filmography with this specific dichotomy in mind. Look for the stark contrast between the ham performances, the Zorgs, the Draculas, the Stansfields, and the performances where the silence is loud, particularly George Smiley. See if you can spot the precise technical shift and psychological diligence underlying both extremes.